Welcome to My Creative Corner 3, a podcast about quilting, crafting, creativity, with a dash of garden, chatting about current interests and life in my northern town. You can find show notes at mycreativecorner3.com. You can also find all of my social media, how to purchase a virtual cup of coffee, and all events on the website. Please feel free to stop by and leave a comment. I really appreciate everyone who listens. Thanks for stopping by. Welcome to the podcast. Hello, everyone. It is October 28th, and here we are in the middle of a lovely fall. The rain stopped, the sun's out, and I went to the apple orchard on the final day of their fall festival. It was so perfect. I was able to shoot the apple cannons, saw all of their little petting farm, and some of the not so common animals in a petting farm. They have a small zoo there also, and all the kids' things, the decorations, and totally got me into the vibe for Halloween this week. I have made my quilted witchy hat, and it is inspired by the directions from Jelly Jabber. So I have combs sewed in because the hat sits on top of my head and it has a floppy brim. I took a table topper that I did not ever bind, and I was like, okay, this will be perfect. It is a pineapple paper pieced table topper in metallic reds, greens, and yellows. So it kind of has a nice fall vibe to it. I bent the top over and sewed a little crystal ball hanging off of it. I decided no other jewelry and no other flowers, if you remember. So it is bound and ready to wear for Halloween. I think I may even walk downtown on the day itself just to be part of the festivities. And there is a place, that is a couple miles from here that decorates and has lights. And if I don't make it on Halloween, I want to go the day after and in the dark and walk their path and just soak in the season. I haven't done that in a long time. No trick-or-treating, but just to be out and about. I'm finding that's fun. It's fun to be part of festivals and festivities because it's also fun to be at home and live my quiet, introverted life. But, it is time to get out and about. What have I been doing so much yet I feel like there's not that much to talk about because it's some of the same things I talked about last time. But I do have a lot of takeaways. And one thing that I started last week is the decluttering and reset of my sewing and crafty space. So I've been doing a lot of mixed media, fodder challenge, and crafting type things. And with that comes a lot of clutter and stuff. And I do have a bin for all of that. But what I'm noticing is that the quilting things, the sewing things, and all of the threads and just the stuff you collect as a quilter of decades. There's a lot of things that the technology has changed on, or I didn't buy and was maybe given to me, or I inherited from friends, and I decided this year is the year to go through it all and get rid of the things that are junk, fabric that is no good, rotten, dry rotted. Just over time, fabric loses its usefulness, and anything that is good will be donated. And I do not want to see anything else out anymore in this space. It's feeling very claustrophobic in my little room. and I want to have a clean reset and redecorating of it by next spring. But the first thing is to spend the winter months going through the deep archives of my hibernative state, because the sun is getting ever so short and the evenings ever so long, and I need to make this my retreat space, and I'm finding I've been avoiding it because it's just got too much stuff in it. I am also realizing I have a lot of things here because I did inherit some of one of my late friend's stashes and her friend's stash. So there's things that are memories for me, but they're really not useful. So it's time to let that stuff go and know that I will never forget her. And I have tons of things to remember her by. So that is top priority, is go through, thin out the stuff to what is actually useful, what is good, and what will be things that I treasure. And the rest of it is going to be donated, or some of it will unfortunately be trashed. And I really want to embrace the retreat feel of this small space. And it's just, over time, how everything encroaches upon your space and you lack really a place to put it all. So that means you need to really get rid of a lot. And as I sit here looking around, because I'm doing my podcast in here, this also doubles as my working from home space. And I have my Cricut things in here, as well as a drawer with a bin filled of my Calyx system, filled with, my papers and my watercolor paints, pens, pencils, and another drawer of just extraneous. So I pulled out all of the little plastic totes, and that's where I'm going to start, is emptying those. They're stacked up on top, or they're in a closet that's not very useful in this room because it's really a long, skinny, underneath a stairwell cupboard with no door on it. And I'm going to change that. Really what I want it to be is it has some storage in it from my children and other long-term storage, things that I don't need to access, and it's very hard to access. So I'm going to clean that closet out too, and I'm going to put a curtain over it because I'm tired of looking in it. It is directly to my left of the window I look out and sew in, and I look in there and all I see is the mess. So that's where I'm starting. And remember, I'm following a Swedish death cleaning, which means that you do as much as you can at a little bit at a time, most days of the week, and know that you don't have to have memories attached to everything. You can take pictures, you can donate, you can ask members of your family if they're interested. The whole series of doing that is on Netflix, which is a great series to watch. They use colorful language, and I'm warning you about that if it offends you. But I found it refreshing and a hot take on why do we in North America, not just Americans, but a lot of North Americans, maybe my Canadian friends can attest to this, but we have bigger homes and a lot of stuff, and they don't have that in Sweden and other countries that live in small spaces. So I'm rethinking why I have so much, and it's also a mindset, and it comes from a scarcity mindset that I'll never have it again, or never be able to afford it, or there might be some usefulness. So you kind of hoard maybe, or you overbuy. And I don't need to buy so much stuff. And I want to keep the things that I have created and find a wonderful place to put it and to make it useful. So that project, I want to have a deadline on for the spring cleaning and emptying, and then being able, I'm not going to paint it. It's got a cute wallpaper and paint on the wall, and just want to have a fresh look and decor on it. So into the next part of maybe embracing the season, with fall being hygge season, and it's the comfy, cozy vibes. And I have got all of my Halloween things out for this month, and they're more of the spooky, scary skeletons. I've got a couple skeleton things and more Halloween themed things. And when Halloween is done in November, I will put those things back in storage and have more of the browns and oranges, autumnal things that are more for Thanksgiving in my mind. I have a lot of like toile pumpkins and some more quilts that are more themed for Thanksgiving. So I will have those things out, and I want to change the tablescape and the tablecloth too. So I really want to embrace cozy. So quilts are coming out, candles are coming out, simmer pots with dried oranges and cinnamon, and I have some nutmeg and cloves that I throw in there and boil once in a while just to get a nice fresh scent in the house. And my kitchen is got some cinnamon bread in it right now from Costco. If you've never bought it, yum. And I've got a few other little treats that I like to get in the fall and winter. Some of them are baked goods, but trying to keep them healthy. So this fall I went back and bought some of the Aussie Bites that's comfy and cozy, and sipping my Harney and Sons cinnamon tea and really enjoying it and embracing the fact that this is coming up into the long cold winter, but also the time of just taking care of yourself, doing things for yourself, and resetting the mind from being out and about and getting outside and gardening and doing all of the things in my very brief summer generally, but this year it was long with the extension of summer into the fall, and going places and doing things. And I signed up for all of the classes, and I've been driving all over, and now we're going to be home a little bit more, homebodies, and maybe have some soups and stews and all of the comforting foods that make me feel happy and healthy, as well as doing more in the home. And since I'm in the home more, it's also a fall cleanup with going deep in the closets, kind of like hibernating, right? I like to get deep into the closets in the cooler months of the year and start staging a place in my home for things to go out in the spring. That is my ritual. It is seasonal. It's also very practical because it goes with the weather and my schedule. So that's where I'm at with homemaking and cleaning and decorating, but nothing harsh, nothing under a lot of pressure, and taking my time to do it and enjoying the hygge of the fall. I have been crocheting granny squares like mad. I decided I want to make a cardigan of granny squares with that Lion 24/7 cotton yarn. It is bright colored because I love brights, and I have some white that I bought that I'm going to put toward another project and not use that as my neutral to bring the squares together. And I still haven't decided what color for that, but I am making the granny squares. It's going to take me probably a year to crochet all the granny squares I need for this project. And maybe I'll have some left over and I can maybe do something fun with them. But I'm still spending a lot of my evenings in crocheting. I have been doing Fodder School, which is mixed media collage fodder, meaning making little things to put in your mixed media art journals. And I have been having a lot of fun with it. We are wrapping it up with the final 2 lessons, which is more about making art journal pages in mixed media. But what was so much fun is we talked about fussy cutting, watercolor pieces. I skipped on the alcohol inks because it's too harsh and smelly for my lungs. But I tried watercoloring and using colored pencils and pen for watercoloring a couple zinnias. We did a really fun exercise in cutting out Hamsa hands, which I believe originate in India. Like, I'm thinking henna tattoos and things, but they have a significant symbol in their culture, and people use it for good luck and keeping their kind of warding off evil, I guess, is a deep tradition, cultural tradition. But we did it as a place to decorate with folk art. And I'm a doodler, and I loved it because I wrote affirmations on them. I bought some black paper, cardstock that worked great for black background with bright acrylic fine-tipped paint pens that I bought, as well as you could use white. And there were some templates that were more like Victorian era long wrist and forearms. Think the Monopoly game with the finger pointing, or old turn of the century magazines. And it's fun because you can decorate them however you want. Some people are really, really great at painting and artistic types of things, and I'm learning. I want to be like that, but I'm not there yet. So I'm using more simpler concept, but my next level is like cutting out fussy cuts and layering, like maybe a heart in the middle of the hand with your affirmation and decoration. So I've spent a lot of time doing that particular lesson. And there were several other lessons about just using color and watercolor, and we will be using that in the final. There were a few paper folding things. I didn't get into those as much. But anyway, if you have a chance and you have any interest in doing, like, some people call this junk journaling, but this is more with the artistic bend on it versus collecting paper and cutting it up in a mixed media form. It's a fun thing. It wasn't very much money, and it just gives you a taste of what a year-long fodder school would be by Willa Wanders, which I do not want to commit to because I don't think I'll dive that deep into it. I just want to dabble in making art journals. I also have to finish up my Elisa Burke class, and I'm going to do that when this Willa Wanders fodder challenge is finished. And then I have wrapped up the class portion of my pottery classes, and I've put a few videos up on my social media, and I'll put them in the show notes about the first items we did for the grand finale that were glazed came home. And I have a few pictures of the class, the teacher, and all the things we made. Each of us got 25 pounds worth of clay, and we did many different types of pottery skill building things, like hand building and making slabs and making pinch pots, to throwing. I threw 2 pots. I made Christmas trees. I made little dishes, and what I learned will be the takeaway section of the podcast. It was so much more than making pottery. I am really proud of the pieces I made. I'm sorry, I have a cough today. I apologize. And I want to say that my pieces are very, very naive, and they are also very beginner. You can tell there's a few wobblies on certain dishes on the pieces, sides of it. My glazing isn't perfect, but it's magic, really. It's like alchemy. I heard that on the Great Pottery Throwdown. I'm just taking these lumps of clay and applying the glaze after you work it, and without the help of the kiln master, which is the teacher of the class, my things would have never have turned out. But I brought every single thing to the glazing part, and so far nothing has been lost in the kiln, even my large pots. She sent me a picture of them yesterday. They came out of the kiln and they look great. I can't wait to pick them up, but I won't be able to do that until Veterans Day when I have a day off. I have a few more things yet to glaze, and I will do that on Veterans Day. And then hopefully I will be taking a candle making class and a soap making class, and I'll be able to bring home my final pieces. So she was teasing me, saying they would never dry and be done before the holidays. Well, they'll be done before Thanksgiving, which I'm very, very excited about. And I also wanted to tell you that I've been doing very little sewing, but what sewing I have been, I would encourage you to jump in on this quilt along, because it's actually going to be going on for several months and you could easily catch up. We have done 5 blocks of the Fantabulous Scrappy Stars. I love paper piecing, and I'm finding after doing the Lori Holt tiny piecing without paper piecing for me, I love it so much. It's the way to go. I have several of the 4-inch paper piecing pads from It's So Emma. You can buy them at your local quilt shops or through Fat Quarter Shop. But Halo Inspirations, Angel wrote these patterns, and we're using and highlighting some of the pads should you want to go small. You want to do paper piecing? She has that, as well as traditional sewing methods. There, my brain stopped for a minute. I'm using the Flying Geese papers too, and I'm making 8-inch stars with the 4-inch center. It's a fabulous scrap buster, and that's how I'm doing mine, with more of the bright colors, more of my leftover strawberry lemonade, as well as some Liberty Riley Blake fabrics, and I'm throwing in some of the pieces of the collection left over that is called Feed My Soul by Sandy Gervais. So love this, because we're using 3 strips for the sashing that are thinner. I'm doing those without paper piecing because I'm making the small version, and Angel is making the 12-inch blocks, and I'm making the 8. So what to do on the cornerstones, I still haven't figured out, but she has small 9 patches made on hers, and I'm not sure I'm going to go with that because the cornerstones they're small and would be tiny paper piece blocks. But I don't know, I might do it yet. It's really fun. It's fun to see. She's using her Lori Holt scraps, so if you have a Lori Holt stash, this would be a great project to use those particular fabrics up too. So a wonderful, wonderful quilt along, and while she's doing it, she's offering YouTube videos, tutorials on how to use the papers and some traditional piecing. She's also blog information, haloinspired.com, and her quilt shop is haloinspirations.com. And if you live in the Williamsburg area of Virginia, you could stop by the shop, buy your fabrics, and tell her you're quilting along. But great quilt along. So I'm focusing on that right now. I haven't done any long arming. I need to, but haven't been motivated with all of the pottery classes and crocheting and work having in its annual and triannual inspections and audits. I've been pretty busy with all of that. But what do I have as a good takeaway? I had reasoning on why I wanted to take all these classes, but what did I learn as I've come to the end of so many of these classes? Are these things. Number 1, if not now, when? Because I want to do all of these things before I retire, and I might be on a more fixed income. Absolutely. And that question applies to a lot of things in my life. Like, if not now, when? When am I going to do it? Because, there comes a point where you can't do certain things anymore, and I really am interested in other crafts right now. And it's okay to not be a monogamous crafter, aka only stick to one craft, like quilting. You know, sometimes social media wants you to think that creative people only do one thing all the time, like quilt. Well, most of the people I know don't. They do lots of other things. They garden, they cook, they clean, they declutter. They're great at organizing, or like me, maybe not so much. Maybe some people paint. People who have great surface design ideas, design fabrics. Some people long arm, others never piece a block. Some people do basket weaving. I've done that, and I still have my baskets that I made, and a couple that were given to me by friends and family. It's okay, and it's great to keep your mind open to trying new things, because I found out I really am enjoying pottery. I really enjoy some of the mixed media, but not as much as I wanted to like it. And I'm going to keep some of the things I have because I do like making art journals, but I don't ever plan on being a watercolor artist, let's say. But it is a fun thing to dabble in. I also learned that it keeps you fresh. You get new ideas, you get inspired. The textures from pottery, the glazes, the shine, the color, the hand feel, all is similar to quilting, and I still enjoy that very much. And that's why I like doing mixed media journal pages so much. I think that inspiration comes from everywhere, and it can come from nature, it can come from taking other classes, meeting other people, seeing things from a different perspective. I did learn a lot about that this fall. Even when I cut up my quilt to make a jacket, how different garment making is from quilting, and how people interpret patterns different and write them different and think differently about the construction of it. I also learned that I am much more capable of doing some things in my life than I ever thought I was. And you say, well, like what? Like, I didn't think I could drive anywhere out of town anymore. I can. I've been driving to the pottery class. Guess what? GPS is great, and I still can use it. I still know how to. I've learned that my body and mind have done a lot of healing and recovery since I was diagnosed with long COVID, and I can learn new things, and I can do all kinds of things that I never thought was possible. I used to think also that glass fusing, I saw it 20 some years ago on a show, I can't even remember what it's called now, on cable TV, and I saw somebody do glass fusing, and I thought, that would be for me, because I would never be able to do pottery. But glass fusing is beautiful, and I enjoy it once in a while, but I could see where I could get bored with it. And I see people make glass beads out of upcycled glass. I think I would like to do it once, but not necessarily invest in all of the things. I feel the same way about marbling paper and silk. But all of it is to say that I can do those things. I've tried them. I love them. And some things I will do once, and some things I will do many times. That made me feel more capable because I was able to learn and do it. And even with a lot of help from teachers over the last year, helping me interpret patterns, the quilt shop owner in the Lori Holt Club, the jacket making class I took this fall, I'm like, wow, I am a little bit more capable than I gave myself credit for. I can read this. I remember how to do it. I'm processing the information, right? I just need more practice at it. Same with driving the car. And then when you walk away from these things, which made me feel like I made a pot and it survived the kiln, that's like magic that it even happened. I realized I feel way more confident in who I am and what I'm doing. And I also am very proud of the pieces I've made, as naive and imperfect as they are, because I enjoyed every step of the way. It was so much fun, and it gave me peace, a lot of peace, at a time where things were stressful at work and some other things going on in life. And you're like, wow, this really puts to work the things that I've been telling you here on the podcast, as well as many of my clients, that making things, creating things is therapy. It makes us feel better. And wow, I feel so good. It's given me confidence to finally do the deep dive and declutter of my little crafty space in my home. So those are the takeaways from the classes. I was very surprised at how much I learned, how much I was able to do, and how much it impacted both my feelings of creativity as well as boosting my feelings of well-being and health overall. So that's this week's podcast. I wish you could come and touch how smooth glaze is when it comes out of a kiln, or how bumpy some of the pieces I made with the stamps on them, or the rough glazes I picked, or even to touch the pottery, lift it, put the glass that I fused last month up in the sun and see it glitter. But I did my best to capture some of those things in the pictures. And I've always said, filming, photographing a quilt is very difficult, because you can't convey in a photograph the comfy, cozy feeling and all the positive things that I've taken away from making in some pictures. But I hope you try it. Try something that you've never tried before, and ask yourself, if not now, when? Maybe it isn't the time for you, but maybe you were like me, and maybe you'll find out that today in 2025 is when. Take time to be creative. To talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.